Good evening, everyone. This is Vidhi Beri. I apologize for the slight delay today, but let's get started. I'm a health transformation coach, and I've also been a maternity wellness specialist. Well, what does that really mean? You've heard of prenatal nutritionists, you've heard of lactation specialists, you've heard of people who do postnatal, prenatal guidance on your body and exercises. What I tend to do is guide you through the whole process in a holistic, mindful manner. Let's understand where this journey began so that you really get to know how I would guide everyone who comes in my vicinity in contact with me through this entire journey, pre, post, and once you are in your childbearing years. I began this journey about 11 years ago during my conception and then the birth of my child. It was a beautiful journey, but a lot of hardships, a lot of ups and downs, a lot of pain emotionally and physically, and a lot of shocks to the system because no one told me at that time that certain things would be difficult. Everyone says to you, it's beautiful, you're going to have a bundle of joy, and no one tells you that there's going to be a bundle of tears along with it. And that bundle of tears is not just in front of you, but inside you, and lots of different emotions coming from within you. So, this entire process of parenting, maternity, paternity, coming into being is really going from the external world to the internal world. And what do I really mean by that? All of us are social beings. We continue to be social, societal creatures. But when we conceive and we have something growing inside our womb, what happens? It starts to make us feel more whole than we were. We were complete individuals, we always have been, we will be. And suddenly, when something starts to grow inside you or comes into your life, you start feeling more and more complete. And when that little being is outside you, you still feel complete. That little being also in itself is complete. There is an external to internal process, and then again from internal to external. It's very, very metaphorical and spiritual in a way. And today I want to talk to you about the entire process through a 9 step guide, which I have also published recently in the form of a book called Decoding Motherhood. Why 9 steps? They are the most important steps that I have observed or labeled so in my journey of discovery as a parent of 2 children, also in my journey of discovery with over 5,000 clients in the last 10 years, where I've worked with parents as they have come to understand themselves better and as they have come to understand that every time you go within yourself, you automatically become a better parent, a happier parent, and lo and behold, you have a happier child in front of you, a more content child in front of you. So, some of you who are listening already have babies, they're growing up. Some of you may be wanting to conceive, some of you have conceived. This information today is going to help all of you in your mind think differently. The takeaways will be something outside the box from a prenatal, postnatal, or a child rearing class. Today, I'm going to tell you to bring attention to your 5 senses and understand one thing simply for yourself and your baby. You cannot feel fulfilled unless your 5 senses are fulfilled. And we all know what those 5 senses are: our sight, our hearing or sound, our taste buds, our touch, and our smell. And if we've all noticed or heard from stories, anyone who's trying to conceive a child or has conceived or just had a baby will have all of these senses heightened. Little babies and infants also have all of these senses heightened. Now, if they are heightened, we are also more receptive. And when we are receptive, we can be receptive in a positive way, like a sponge, and use that beautifully. We can also be receptive in a way that can almost destroy our emotional being at that time. How do we really learn to become receptive as a sponge in a positive way? And why should we learn to do that? Well, When it comes to touch or taste, they are intrinsic. As human beings, as social beings, we always need to touch. And when it's about a baby, a mother who's carrying will touch her tummy. Her partner will also rub her tummy. And when it comes to taste, we always want to eat something that makes us fulfilled, makes us feel happy. And that's different. Like we said, comfort food for different people is different. So, someone might want to have, let's say, a rasgulla. Someone might hate tea during their pregnancy, and as soon as you have a baby, you might have cravings for a certain kind of dessert. These are natural, owing to memories in your childhood, owing to what you naturally crave at that time, what makes you feel satisfied. Satisfaction is the key point here. Every point of your parenting journey, stop and ask yourself, are my five senses satisfied? And today, not only are we going to bring awareness to that, we're also going to find some tricks on how to satisfy those senses. And the minute you start doing that, believe me, within a day, not longer than that, but within a day, tomorrow you'll see a change within yourself. Because all of us parents carry this guilt of are we doing enough? But rather than carrying the guilt of are we doing enough at any stage, let's start thinking, are we satisfied enough in our five senses? And the minute you switch from that space, that other feeling tends to start fading away very, very slowly or quickly, depending on how fast you start working on yourself. So, getting to these five senses starts from my favorite, which is the taste buds, because in India, everything is about food. Almost everything, from when you conceive, what is the right food that's going to help me conceive a child, to when I'm pregnant, what are the foods that will make my child, I've heard, different complexions, a good weight, stronger, make me lactate better, make me not put on weight, or make me put on the right amount of weight, to once we've had the baby, what food's going to make me lactate well? Well, as long as you feel fulfilled, your taste buds are fulfilled, you are going to do everything perfectly. Because many of us know and many of us don't know that we have specific areas for taste buds. We know what taste buds are, but we have specific areas in the mouth. And today I'm giving you a slight clue for what that is. The front of your tongue, which you can do right away if you have any kind of chocolate, sugar, ghee, rice, or candy in front of you. When you put that in your mouth, or even a chiku, you put that in your mouth, the front of your tongue can taste it. And that's where your sweet taste buds are. After that, whatever food you've put in addition to the sweet, is going to be felt on the sides or in the center based on what else is in it. For example, if you just had some chiku, there's a little bit of sour on it, so it's going to be on the sides because all fruits have a little citric element to it. If you had a pomegranate, it's going to go somewhere on the sides with a little sour, salty, a little bit of sweet. So the sides and the front. If I bit into a Karela right now, it would feel pungent, which is somewhere in the center of your tongue. So many food experiments to go on. And what you will find today, learning from today, just try putting different foods in your mouth and see where you feel them. They feel differently in different places. And if you can start thinking of devising a diet that fulfills all of those taste buds in the different parts of your mouth, automatically half your fulfillment happens right there. Which is why many of us are averse to certain foods and not, because our body and our tongue tells us what we need. And that information is directly connected to our hormones. So if we are getting enough of what we need. Now, a quick note of caution here. If your brain is telling you you need chocolate all the time, well, there's a little bit of a fuzzy information going there in terms of your mind and your hormones, where there is a layer of artificial sugar that's shut off those receptors. So be aware of that. But when I say taste, I'm talking about a whole lot of natural foods. Explore that because they put on the right hormones. They press those points which help us secrete correctly and neurologically also help us function better on an everyday basis. And this has a direct consequence on your prenatal, mental, physical, fetal development. Postnatally, automatically oxytocin and prolactin secrete to have you secreting the right amount of breast milk for your child. And going forward, you're a happier mother who has the right balance of emotion to take care of her child This is why we have to actually think about our taste buds and our tongue. In addition to that, there's one more factor, which is the visual of your food. The visual of your food also is a huge receptor at that time when you're picking the foods, because if it's not visually appealing and you're someone who likes the look of your plate and wants the pretty stuff there, the different colors there, you need memory coming in. So if you're used to eating something that you know is junk and it shouldn't be going inside you, then perhaps work with your cook or your family members to restructure that to find healthier alternatives that look similar so that your visual is trained, tastes almost as good so that your tongue has the right receptors. And when that familiarity comes in, you automatically start feeling fulfilled. Of course, a lot of those recipes and ideas have been shared as a part of the book, and I also discuss that in detail when I'm working with each of you as my clients. Now, moving on from taste to touch. This is a huge area. When I say taste to touch, what does touch mean? Touching your home, touching your partner, also touching your body to exercise, to do things like yoga, Pilates for your breath. All of this is a part of your touch, wind, air system in your body. And based on our body type or Ayurvedic Prakriti, like I like to work on, which is wind based, fire based, earth and water based, we all have different natures, innate natures based on our temperament, based on our body types, and that is quite identifiable by a trained eye. We like to have a plan for movement. We like to have a plan for our cells to rejuvenate. And that includes all kinds of touch therapy for all kinds of parents, couples, single parents, single dads, single moms, married couples, postnatally, prenatally, and as you go along. This starts from a simple thing like a shoulder rub, a neck rub, a gentle touch here, and a detailed massage in the body. That's the first way we secrete serotonin. And it's that easy. You can even pet a dog and you will secrete serotonin. Serotonin is one of the magical happiness hormones. So we always need to do that. Yesterday I was talking to a mom and I said, simply if you're in your mama's house, just ask her, like when you were younger, to just pat you like this for a while, and you're just going to feel all better. Why? Because you have the memory from your childhood, and automatically there is a serotonin release that happens. It just makes you feel supported, loved, happier. And we are always wondering, how can we be happier? How can our environment in the womb, outside the womb with our child be happier? So the only thing we all need to do is find keys to fulfill our five senses and secrete the right hormones to find that happiness every single day. And it is small things like this which we need to factor in because they are that easy. They are that easy. So starting with the little pat from your mothers and your husbands and your partners, how do we proceed here? Well, take this knowledge and take it to your child. So, all of you who have newborns or growing children, even a 10-year-old, trust me, when you start hugging them, just gently caressing them, some of them like to just pinch the skin on a little bit here, some of them like the interlocking of the hands, a back rub, or a circular rub, which we do for little infants when we need to burp them. Automatically, we're helping them release a lot of tension in their body. We're helping them release a lot of wind in their body. We're also secreting the right hormones within ourselves for connection. And then there is a deeper layer here. There is a craniosacral lining, a cerebrospinal fluid that runs across all our bodies and our children. Whenever we get to touch very, very close, gently, we're harmonizing blocks in that entire body system. And when we're able to harmonize those blocks, what we find that many things autocorrect. We're in a time of a lot of medical diagnosis and trying to find solutions. Sometimes I say that you don't even need to reach a point where you need to diagnose something's wrong. Even before that, with your intuitive self as a parent, you can heal your child. And I will share with you the secret of how I have healed my children for the last 10 years. I can proudly say I'm a mother who has never given any medication. except for the vaccinations, and that also because I didn't study too much about it, so I don't have a informed opinion to say yes or no. Some of you believe in it, some of you don't, but I can proudly say that I discovered one very useful secret, that is an internal and external secret which connects together. The point at which a child is born and separated from the mother is the navel and the umbilical cord. That is the connection that is always remaining and retained. Why is this useful for all of you? Is because this is the point at which we redraw that connection and heal our children. So, whether any of my children have had 104 fever or anything else, tummy ache, respiratory, any issue, all I have done, and listen to me very carefully because this is entirely true. I've lived a decade of my life with this knowledge. This is my hand and my child's navel, and that's all I have done. Whether it's the entire night sleeping with them or in the daytime, yes, you need time and patience, and you need to believe. Just like you believe popping a pill might solve problems, you need to believe it takes more work, it takes more patience, it takes more time. That's all I've done to get a 104 to a 98 or a respiratory issue to subdue itself, and I have given it that time from my own intuitive knowledge of getting the body to fight whatever infection is there. Many times it's our own need and our own fears that we use. And this touch, it's as simple as that. Every mother has the ability to heal. You just need to practice and you need to believe. If you have the ability to believe, to be patient and practice, we all, just like we carried babies in our womb, can heal ourselves, make those babies grow, and keep healing them till we have that connection emotionally and physically established. So, touch is a beautiful thing at all times. You can be fulfilled through touch with your partners, with your babies, through massages, through caressing, and also through some amount of intimacy that I always say couples should maintain through pregnancy, prenatally, and postnatally, just by some amount of basic touch, cuddling, caressing, massaging, back rubs, like I mentioned. It's one of those things we tend to disconnect in culture, and once it stays, it's a very, very easy hack into achieving and secreting those happiness hormones. So that was about nutrition and touch and really starting to get into the sense organs. Now I want to talk about the newborn infant. And the reason I want to talk about that, because even those newborn infants have very heightened senses of these five, which we talked about. So how do we fulfill those five? We fulfill them by being aware of how a baby responds when it comes to their mother. So in subconscious of the child is the mammalian brain, which is the animal brain. The mammalian brain or the animal brain functions, let's say, like a puppy, and that means it's always fighting for survival, looking for food, looking for warmth, shelter, and home, which is the mother's body, which from the womb becomes the mother's chest, breast area. When they come here, they feel warmth. They use their visual senses. Now, here is where the human brain starts to work. They use their visual senses to go towards the blackened portion of the mother's breast, which is the areola. They use their sense of smell to gravitate towards the smell of the amniotic fluid, which is again secreted by the nipple of the mother. They use their sense of hearing and sound by going towards the heartbeat that was inside them actually for 9 months, because they were inside their mother's womb and they heard the mother's heartbeat before they heard their own heartbeat. And they go slowly towards that because the heartbeat is where the breast is, and that's home for them. And then when they touch that area, the warmth and the temperature control starts to change. It starts to mold itself. So see, the mother's body has the ability to heal a child every single second. When we do skin to skin or kangaroo mother care between a mother and child, and a mother and a child are held here, when the baby is held here skin to skin, every 3 seconds, the mother's temperature will readjust and change itself. And as it readjusts and changes itself, it will suit a temperature. It will readjust to a temperature that keeps the baby at the temperature which it was inside the womb. So it maintains that stability. So you'll see many times mothers say, I'm sweating like anything, I'm feeding my baby, what's going on here? So the baby and the body are responding to each other, the temperature control is happening, excess heat is being taken off if the baby is heating up, and hence the sweat comes in. Lysozymes are secreted in the baby and the mother when sweat is secreted, and lysozymes help us kill all the external walls of bacteria, viruses, whatever might be attacking the baby's environment or the mother's environment, as both can be prone to infection. So your body already has the wisdom to do this, and you just need to trust it. So imagine if nature built the five senses in a way that can be mirrored, can be enhanced, can be tapped into. And if you're aware of it, imagine how well you can nourish your infant just by knowing that this is home. We recreate the home environment here, and we just need the baby to use its mammalian brain and some of its human brain to come here. A quick note here on the subconscious or the unconscious of the baby. Unconscious of the baby is actually reptilian, which is why many of you have probably heard that babies can swim. Some of us don't have the courage to get on that path yet, but yes, they can. They're amphibian like and they are quite reptilian. So, if you've seen the breast crawl videos that are out there, they've been published on YouTube also by UNICEF, and you'll see a baby put face down on the mother's tummy, and just by its own body weight can move and go towards the breast. And when it does that, it is using its reptilian brain. So through evolution, not only have we got within us, in our unconscious, the reptilian brain, in our subconscious, the mammalian brain, and in our conscious mind, the human brain, which is actually the smallest part, and we tap the least into it. We are built in with the super intelligence of all creatures. And our babies are complete in themselves, we are complete in ourselves. Yet, if we can believe, we can heal our own bodies and we can heal our babies as well with this knowledge. Now, taking you through the 9 steps that I have defined, which I feel are essential for a holistic look at maternal wellness, prenatally and postnatally, and even before you're conceiving. A couple at any stage, can decide what are our goals of bringing a child into this world. An individual parent also can decide. So I urge you all to do this exercise for yourself. If you have a partner, with the partner, what is my objective for bringing a child into this world? Is it fulfillment? Does it feel natural? Is it a reproductive need? Is it a family need? And be honest, whatever your circumstances are, based on that, it could be love. I just want to keep creating and loving another being. So as simple as that, as complex as what your circumstances are, that is mindful conception. Also, in Indian tradition known as Garbha Sanskar, the sanskar of the womb, what kind of child are we bringing into this world? What is our goal? And when I say what kind of child, the quality, the values that we want to impart and we don't want to impart. Of course, some of that genetic predisposition information does go in. However, you still have a lot of molding that you can do within yourself in terms of your spiritual self, your emotional self, your physical self, your nutritional self. So all of those are the first point of beginning. And if you have a 6-month child, you can still just begin this process right now, because even though the child is complete, it is still infinite, it is still like a sponge. And if you do this exercise today with yourself and your partner, you will change from this point onward yourself and what you are bringing to this child. If you start enjoying your food today, you will change how you have an approach towards your child and their food. So, my most intrinsic point that I'm trying to impart to all of you is anything you want to change in your environment begins from your internal self awareness, and getting into tune with all your 5 senses, starting to fulfill all your 5 senses. So mindful conception, garb sanskar, or just mindfully planning milestones for your child is the first step of child rearing wherever you are right now. The second step is your nutrition. We talked about physical nutrition, eating, the right kind of eating, the balanced diet, and trust me, it will be slightly different for all of you. Just like child rearing and its experience is slightly different for all of us, drastically different for all of us, nutrition also is variable in that way. Yes, there are certain foods that are superfoods for mummies, but the entire diet plan will be slightly variant from one mother to another. And then the most interesting, which is what I find during pregnancy and post, and it can continue for a while actually, is your movement, because somehow we are all very gusto about moving in a certain way when we are conceiving, doing yoga, prenatal classes, different kinds of exercises to have a natural delivery, walking, finding the right balance, not overdoing it, asking our doctors, and then once the baby is born, suddenly we have no time for this. Well, when it comes to movement, the first thing that needs to move in your body and give you life is the pranic energy or the prana. And this life energy will only be ignited when you move a certain way or you move your breath a certain way. So today I'm going to give you one clue, which is the most transformation is observe your breath for 5 minutes. It is that simple. Deep breathing and observation of the breath is far more transformational than doing any kind of exercise, because when you circulate your breath correctly through deep breathing, through Nadi Shodhana pranayams, or any other breathing technique, you have circulated all that wind in a particular way. And for any space in maternity, that is crucial, because all moms here have experienced lots of wind, possibly acidity, headaches, cramping, and that all has to do with wind circulation in your body. So anyone who tells me I'm finding myself in a crunch of time, I will always give them practices to monitor and manage their breath. And this has a double effect. It can be done through exercise also, it can be done through yoga also, it can also be done sitting like this and practicing something. And it has a manifold effect because it will help you secrete oxytocin and endorphins, which you do when you do cardio. So it is an easier version of doing that. It is a quick version, and no one can have any excuse of not doing it because all it takes is a minimum of 5 minutes. But it is transformational when it comes to our emotions, when it comes to our wind circulation, and when it comes to our digestion. And these are all things that can ail many, many, many moms and dads during conception, prenatally, postnatally, once you've had a child. So keep in mind that start just with this. It's as simple, and of course, you can get to much more progressive ways of looking at things. As we go along in these steps, what tends to happen is we are preparing for a baby, and we have all this talk about the delivery, and even after the delivery we're talking about I had this kind of thing, and I had induced labor, and there was a C-section, and this and that, and there's a lot of hysteria around it, and not as much right information as fearful information. And once any and every mother has had a baby, within the first 2 weeks, she will always come back to me and say, why didn't you tell me that breastfeeding and lactation is going to be so much more work than the delivery process? And it is, because at least 6 months you're going to be exclusively feeding. My point here is that all the hysteria that is built around your delivery is nothing in front of the child rearing that you're going to face. And all of us are going to have a beautiful journey, but there are going to be hardships, there are going to be frustrations, there is going to be pain. So that one event of actually bringing that baby into the world, even though there's pain in that, is not traumatic as we make it in our minds. The trauma is much more in our brains and our perceived reactions than in reality. So I urge you all to think of calming alternative methods, including the breath work, including hypnobirthing practices, and really coming into the self through different self-counseling mechanisms to really be able to move from this socialization of delivery hysteria. Because All of us are going to have children in some way or another. 99% of us are going to. So whenever we have babies, we think we've climbed Mount Everest, and it is a big deal at that time. And then you look around you, our mums have done it, our friends have done it, our relatives have done it. So everyone's done it. They're like, it's not a big deal, we're all doing it, but it is a big deal right now. So there's a fine line between it being a big deal and achieving this task versus the hysteria around processes. And I would urge you to become aware that yes, we are all designed to do this. So we don't need to fear pain. It is a part of our learning process. It is a part of our journey. And it is a beautiful journey. No beautiful journey is complete and beautiful without pain and hardships. Now, coming to the fifth step, which I would say is the maternal self awareness through all of the mediums that I've talked about, but many others, including self work within yourself. And I want to highlight something here that I found quite useful culturally. One is music, the other is dance. All of us have some amount of music and dance in us, whether we are rhythmic, whether we are in tune, it doesn't matter. Some of us can actually croak like a crow, and no one would like to hear us sing. And some of us have absolutely no beat or rhythm when we dance. But there is a language of the body when we dance, and there is a language of the two brain connections, the left and the right, when we sing. And that is expression. It is some form of creative expression. And without judgment, when you dance to your favorite Hollywood, Bollywood band song, if you dance in your room, you will feel fulfilled. If you do free movement, you will feel fulfilled. If you hum your favorite song, you will feel happy at that time. And somehow we forget these little basic things. When we were growing up, and when you have your children growing up, you're going to teach them all the creative tactile things with your hands. So, working with mud, doing clay, craft, everything. Somehow we've forgotten that. We've forgotten to do our crafts, we've forgotten to sing, we've forgotten to dance. Some of us have caught on to it. But when we are bringing a baby into this world and we have a career or we are going to work, we've forgotten that these are not just hobbies, they are tools that exist to bring in more self awareness. And why maternal self awareness? Because if the mother is more self aware, automatically the child becomes more self aware. The child is less anxious. The family is less anxious. Everybody in the process is more fulfilled. So I urge all of you, because I think a lot of you here, parents, are going to be mommies. You have 90% of the power to change what's happening inside you, what's happening outside you with your family and your babies. And many, many times we feel victimized as mothers and we say hormonal secretion is happening. So there is a high incidence of prenatal depression, high incidence of postnatal depression, and we're wondering what to do about it. Well, counseling is always one tool. But even before we get to that point, music, dance, creative self expression, using your hands to create something, are a part of you. You don't even need anyone to help you in that process. It is within you. The cure to every single problem that your mind or body has created, and I say created because we create all lifestyle diseases within us, all emotional diseases within us, and maybe we didn't have control at that time, but we do have the ability to heal ourselves with these tools. And there are a lot of practitioners out there. Some have worked in my book with me to bring out these tools, to bring out dance movement therapy or music and sound healing, or just different kinds of counseling, to bring that self awareness, to give you the tools to be stronger and weave through the waves that are created in our emotions through this entire journey. So I urge you to look in and become more self aware as you find different tools, and there is a tool for each one of us. When I coach, I realize that we find different tools, and sometimes we lead people to finding different tools that's right for them, because your body and your mind knows what's right for you. And as I mentioned, after delivery, most mommies tell me that you didn't tell us that lactation is going to be so difficult and delivery is a piece of cake compared to that. Well, smoothly transitioning into step 6, which is breastfeeding, lactating, Lots of mommy guilt associated with that. And I deal with that every day. And there are times where I myself tell a mother, you've been trying for a month. This is what's working, this is what's not working. And I think we can live with it. Why do we say that? Why do I not push a mother beyond a certain point? Because there is a very fine line sometimes between losing yourself trying to do something. And when we have perceived everything and our credibility in one act, we lose objectivity. That's the one thing that I would say has happened to me and almost every single mother I've worked with. We've lost objectivity when we have babies and we try to feed them of ourselves. Our day revolves around, is my baby full? Have I eaten enough to lactate well? Did I have enough milk right now? Did my baby suckle correctly? Is my baby full? Why is my baby crying? Does my baby have a tummy ache? How many wet diapers? How many soiled diapers? If the baby is not sleeping enough, maybe I'm not doing enough as a mother and I'm not lactating well. And that's the first few weeks to first few months for every mother. And if formula comes in, alternative feeding methods come in, we suddenly start feeling that we are not adequate. Or there's somebody out there with a voice who starts making us feel that we're not adequate. Every mother, in her effort, in her mind, wants to do everything she can with the resources she has. Some of us don't have all the resources at the right time. So, with whatever guidance we have, we move forward to the best of our ability, and whatever that helps us achieve is enough. I want to tell all of you that you need to tell yourselves, look into the mirror every single day as a parent and say that I am enough, what I'm doing is enough. Because none of us are going to slack off and take a few days off at that stage and say, I'm not doing anything, I don't want to, and I don't wish to. That doesn't happen. In reality, every single moment of our being, of our time, is trying to be enough for that little child. If you realize that you're already enough because you carried it in the womb or you have brought it into this world or you're nurturing it, you are enough. And to whatever degree you can is also enough. So never have that question in your mind because I am enough, your child is enough, you are enough, and your family is enough. I'm going to pause for a minute. So, coming back to step 7, we talked about a lot of things, our nutrition, our movement, our self awareness tools, the delivery type, lactation. Now, coming on to the favorite topic of every mother who's going to have a child or has had a child and is maybe first month post, 6 months post. What should I eat? What should I eat to lactate well? What should I eat to have strength? What should I eat to not put on weight? Or I don't really care. I can put on some weight right now. I'll lose it later. Don't lose yourself in this process. I had a mother who paid so much emphasis to her diet that she actually caused a stomach infection just by eating extra laddus. And finally, it was a pediatrician who told her, please stop eating this, come to a khichdi diet. Not only will you lactate better within a week, your stomach infection will go away and you will not put on these oodles of 10 kgs of weight that you have put on postnatally in the first month. So I worked with this mother and we actually had a dip in lactation due to eating a very, very strongly North Indian fat-filled diet. Now, don't get me wrong, every single mother after her baby needs fat. So if there is one key ingredient I would say in your food that has to be there, has to be fat. But Just like when we talk about herbs, in this time of a pandemic, we're talking about lots of herbs that will heal us. Facts will heal you, but it will heal you within reason. Remember this, when I counsel families with different generations, I always remind them, understand that none of us right now are 16 years old, 14 years old having babies. We are probably 25 plus, 30 plus, 40 plus even. And if we are at those ages, we are not playing basketball and tennis every day. Most of us, we're not running around the gardens and jumping up on our chair. Even while I'm talking to you, I am sitting and not bouncing on my chair. So, if we don't have that teenage childlike quality and high metabolic rate, we cannot have tons of laddus and halwas and all of these yummy Indian delicacies all in one daytime, and we can't digest them. We don't do the physical labor, and we don't have the metabolic rate. So the minute we start loading all of that, believing that we are actually going to be healthier because culture said so or tradition said so, understand that there's a portion game going on here. Anything that you want to eat can be readjusted based on your age, size, metabolic rate, and finally, most importantly, your digestion. So, when you're fulfilling your senses, looking at that food, fulfilling your taste, understand that your stomach tells you and your brain tells you when to stop, but you override it based on certain information that if I didn't do this, things would go wrong. And you know, usually when you don't listen to your stomach and your brain, they do go wrong. So, there are plenty of moms who eat that extra, don't lactate well, put on that excess weight, don't achieve any of the things they want to. So, very, very important factor when you are trying to do it right. Remember that you don't have to sacrifice yourself, your body type, your look. You can simultaneously achieve long term strength, good health, good lactation, and weight management all simultaneously. Yes, you can't do crash diets as soon as your baby is born, but we can absolutely manage with the right amount of fats and the right amount of herbs so that you can achieve all your goals together. It's a very important part in our own and become aware of this rather than just blindly following tradition. Traditions are important, but with balance and the right information. Now, coming to your partnership, your intimacy, and your acceptance of who you are in a relationship with. And I struggled with this. I see friends, family, everyone struggle with it because we are progressive, modern women and we have these expectations from our partners, sometimes not very realistic. See, we are going through training when we have babies. Many times our partners are not. And they haven't gone through that. Suddenly, when you have a child or you have a child in your womb, expecting them to become this supernatural, caring human being is not really want that to happen enough to get them on that page. Are we in a family setting or in an environment where it supports these theories? If we're not, we need to re examine our own expectations. We cannot suddenly decide to become a feminist or someone who has these expectations of equality when we are not in equal relationships. So, the first point is to assess where you are, what kind of partner you have, how much is the partner willing to contribute. Yes, the partner, not only your willingness and your expectation. You have to come on the same page or somewhere around the same page because if you don't, that becomes a huge part of conflict post birth of a child and in the early childbearing years. And many, many, many times, it does the exact opposite of what we want partnership and intimacy to do in the rearing of a child. So understand that a partner can play a very essential role, like I said, in you secreting all the right hormones, learning to be happy, feeling supported, and also going forward, feeling really nourished. The child feeling really nourished. Partners can play that role. Having constant communications verbally, through your eyes, through your touch, through caressing, through cuddling, through just gentle movements really can transform where you are in your relationships. So I would say look at your intimacy needs, discuss them with your partner, during prenatal stages, during postnatal stages, because there is no such thing as a taboo there. And they can be discussed with a specialist like me or your counselor or your gynecologist on how much and what's right for you. But it is essential because intimacy in your partnership can help you be really, really fulfilled and happy. And you always secrete dopamine and oxytocin when you feel loved and you feel supported. So dose, DOSE, dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, happy, content, satisfied. And if we are able to secrete these four hormones, then we can very easily accomplish a holistic maternal wellness for our families, for our babies in our womb, and with our growing children. So now, as we've talked about the right hormone secretion, I want you, I want to share what I have grown up with, which I find transformational as a therapy for the self, for the infant, for the family, and for the environment of your home at large, and as a therapy that we've used clinically, the respiratory cures to even healing something like an epilepsy, digestive disorders. Any guesses on what that might be? Well, it's called sound healing or vibrational healing. The study of sound and vibration is a scientific stream in itself. But very, very simply, we belong to a culture where there are seed sounds. The sound which is bass and open, which is ah, the sound which is like a shaft, which is o, oo, and then the sound which is like a chandra bindu or a nasal sound at the top. Not a religious sound, a simple sound that amalgamates all sounds that exist. Ah, oo, om. And when we chant that within ourselves, we're bringing together the pyramid of our spirituality, of our emotions, everything within us, and we also regulate breath. So when I said deep breathing or other breathing, wind circulating techniques, chanting is one of them, where you breathe deeply, you pull in and resonate that sound on the top of your crown, automatically again secreting dopamine. Dopamine, by the way, is the same hormone you secrete when you play lots of video games that you love or you fall in love. So it is that hormone that gives you that high, that keeps you charged, pumped up. And it's that simple to create it from within yourself through sound. Focused, repeated sound. So whether you use rosary beads, you use your pressure points, you just sit in Dhyan Mudra, you join your hands together, or you're just quietly lying down at night and repeatedly chanting this. It is magical. So if you learned anything from today, it is about becoming vibrationally one with yourself. That is all that holistic maternal awareness, care, wellness is about. Becoming vibrationally one with yourself through your five senses, through sound, through music, through dance, through touch, through food, through movement. All of those parameters. And when you're able to become vibrationally one with yourself, you truly will achieve maternal wellness prenatally, postnatally for your child and your family. As we transform ourselves with these techniques, many, many different techniques unfold them in front of us. And we have the right to pick and choose, bring them in our lives, and keep enhancing, keep developing, keep transforming. I hope we were able to unlock some keys and pass on some of my secrets to you in this more than a decade long journey and two children. I've learned a lot, shared a few tears of my own, and some with my dear patients, clients. And it's been beautiful with all the hardships, all the tears. So I'm really happy to share that with you today. Hope we've been able to touch on many, many different aspects. And yes, I consult on this every day. And I have this beautiful book out for all of you. And Andrea's going to share the link in the chat box also. She's going to share the link for you to order this as a very fun, simple, yet informative resource of all of these guidance intuitive steps. So I would like to end here today. Thank you so much for being a wonderful audience. And I'd like to take in questions now. Whatever queries, questions, comments, all are welcome. So look forward to answering them in the next few minutes from all of you. Thank you. Thank you so much for everyone, all of you being here. Let's take a few questions now. I think we've overshot the time, but whatever few questions we can have the time to take, we can start answering them. So I'll be taking them as they come up on the chat box and answering a few. And you can always send me more questions on my Insta handle, which is vidhiberi.healthcoach, or on my Facebook page. You will see a lot of my profile available and a lot of useful information on the 9 steps and guidances there for you to access, read, and become aware with. Any small questions that you want me to take now, happy to answer them. And of course, detailed discussions and consultations, you're most welcome to go ahead with them in the next couple of weeks. Let's take a couple of minutes as we had some technical glitches today. So we'll take a couple of minutes to get in the questions and we can begin to answer them. So I have a question from a mommy who says that my baby had an underbrushing and has a few spit ups because we gave kheer. And I know this is something families tend to follow, but understand that we don't give cow's milk to a 6 months old baby, and kheer is not the right food to begin with. Of course, you can use your breast milk or formula, mix it with a little bit of soft rice, and do the religious ceremony. So do keep in mind that there are some foods that are absolutely not suitable for 6 month old babies, and we must keep that in mind because it can damage the gastrointestinal system, and the casein is not good for a 6 month old, which is there in cow's milk. We have another question from Bhavna Sharma. So I have a cramp. She has a cramping feeling on one side of the back and sometimes on and off, I'm guessing. Is it normal? So pain, is it during pregnancy, post-pregnancy? I don't have that detail, but pain coming in during pregnancy and post-pregnancy is common. What you need to do is first bring awareness of your breath and into that area. Start healing that area with your breath. Then start healing that area with a little bit of light touch massages and then light yoga postures. Yes, you need consultation to heal that. We have foot pain, so पैरों में दर्द and no sleep. For this, actually, we need to work on what's really bothering you. We need to actually come up with a full plan on why there's a loss of sleep. It could be anxiety induced, it could be due to hunger, it could be due to your current routine where you're not getting enough rest, or you're reaching a point of almost hyper anxiety where the mind is reaching a stage where you're almost insomnia. So we need to work on those aspects. And the foot pain many times is due to lack of circulation, a lot of wind and air buildup. Like I talked to you about wind and air buildup on the foot. And if you are pregnant right now, then swelling does happen due to certain foods. So we do have to work on that individually. Thank you for your question. And it is absolutely workable. I would definitely say start doing a little bit of massaging and unlocking the foot and working on the wind and the gas through food as well. So that's important to do. Any other questions coming up? So we have something on development, and this is to do with the development of milestones in an infant. So development milestones in an infant we measure, and of course I've listed a lot of these on my website and my book. But developmental milestones can be observed month to month in babies, and sometimes we find that there is a delay. Whether it is a concerning delay or not, yes, a specialist can answer that. But as a mother, how can we help? As a parent, how can we help a child reach the right kind of development at a suitable age by aiding their movement? Always, whether it is learning to eat through baby led weaning, whether it's learning to be on the tummy longer and longer so that the arms and feet develop. All of these are ways to develop the body and reach the developmental milestones at the right time. So I urge all of you, moms and parents, to become enablers to develop your baby and reach milestones at the right time. So thank you for that question. I think right now we don't have questions coming up, so we can wrap it up here. And I invite you all to pick up your copy of Decoding Motherhood. It's available on Amazon and for pre-order. And get in touch with me for any of your wellness consultations, prenatally, postnatally, or if you have a growing infant and child for their nutritional, for their developmental milestone needs, their cognitive needs. Happy to help and chart out a plan for all of you for your movement, for your nutrition, and your mindfulness. Thank you once again for all of you being here. Sorry about the initial delay, and look forward to interacting with each one of you. Thank you so much.